This is Cup of Go for January 23rd, 2026. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 20 minutes per week. I'm Shai Nechmat.
And I'm Jonathan Hall. And we have a hard cutoff at 17 minutes here. 16 minutes now because we have an interview coming in. So we're going to, I think we'll hit our target this time.
Let's see. Big news for this week is the survey results that we want to dive into and try to dissect. Sort of like sight unseen. We are cursed with the curse of knowledge that we have already used Go for a while and also specifically dissected the previous surveys in previous episodes. But this week, we're really going to try to approach it as if this is the first survey we've ever seen and try to understand the results at face value. Before we dive into the survey, though, there's one library release that we wanted to mention, Go pherJS.
Yeah, Go pherJS just released version 1.20. Longtime listeners may recall back in 2024 in March, we had Grant Nelson on who was working on getting generics added to Go pherJS.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Grant Nelson in Montana. I've lived here almost my whole life. Went to MSU and took a long break for a while, and now I'm back working on my PhD.
Okay.
I prefer to be a teacher, but I ran out of money, so had to go get a real job. Worked.
Go pherJS compiles Go to JavaScript run in the browser.
Yes.
So about a year ago, I think, 1.18 finally came out with generic support. Since then, we're slowly getting caught up. I'm one of the Go maintainers as well, although I didn't really do any work other than code review on this recent change.
Honestly, with AI code, I've been doing more code review than coding recently.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, big shout out to Grant for doing a great job on getting Go pherJS 1.20 out. And he's already making progress on 1.21. So pretty soon we'll be up to the modern versions of Go.
Nice.
So Fine can finally switch back to Go phrJS.
Andy, we're calling you out specifically. So an interesting release. There are more things happening. Like our backlog is
growing.
Oh my God. It's getting big. And before we dive into the only thing we want to talk about this episode, other than the Go pherJS release, which is a survey, I want to mention right now at the top of the show, it's our 3-year anniversary. We're celebrating next week in a live episode in San Francisco in the Go meetup that I'm arranging. So if you're in the Bay Area, obviously just look for Go SF in meetup.com and tell me that you're coming. But also, we would like to have your voice notes. We got some voice notes. We would like to get a little bit more. If you're uncomfortable sending a voice note and you just want to send us like a text and we'll use AI voice to generate it into a note for you, that's also 100% okay. Just let us know, something you'd like to be on the air on the show. All right.
Awesome.
Survey time.
Survey says
we're doing that again. Okay.
What else can we possibly do? That's the only catchphrase I can think of related to surveys.
Damn, now I need to find more catchphrase related to surveys. What is the Go Developer Survey?
Go Developer Survey goes out every 6 months, roughly. And it's a survey of Go developers about their experience with Go. This time, 5,379 Go developers responded. Obviously, there's more Go developers than that out there, so it's a volunteer basis. But we still get some interesting insights, and the Go team uses these insights to sort of prioritize, I guess, what they're working on, determine if there's features that are sorely missed or other efforts that can be made to help improve the Go ecosystem.
And this year, or I guess this survey, there were 5,300 respondents, which is a pretty sizable amount. I don't know statistics, but I just spoke to a friend who works at some big company. I don't want to say because I'm going to say something bad about that company, but at some big company doing experiments related to user experience on a physical device, a foldable phone. And it's like, oh, I got to the statistic team and they don't know statistics. Like they did an experiment checking if the phone is comfortable, and the experiment was asking their friend if the phone is comfortable. It's like n equals 1. So I don't know if n equals 5,300 people is good enough. To me, it sounds like a pretty sizable amount. I wonder how many of these people are Cup of Go listeners as well.
Ooh.
But who are these people, right? The first interesting question before you even dive into the results is like, who answered? And generally, it's relatively experienced professional Go programmers. So people who've been doing this for between 3 and 5 years and use Go for their primary job, not necessarily the only language or even the primary language that they are using, but they are using it at work or for open source projects as well. A little bit for school, which I like seeing always. And most, if not all, are professional developers. Like their job is to develop code. And by the way, the age bracket is pretty interesting as well, between 25 and 54, with most responses between 25 and 44.
Yeah, 2/3 in that bracket, 25 to 44.
Yeah, I always find it hard with the like which industry your organization operates at, because every company is a technology company, right?
Yeah,
like even small businesses now have websites and databases and whatever. So I find it hard to look at the like which industry best describes your organization. But it seems like, there's about half working in technology, just as technology. And then the rest are the other, it's like a long zip F tail of other industries like media, gaming, retail, healthcare, education. That's interesting. Like, I don't know who we had on the show that's doing Go for education. I guess Boot Dev, Lane. Yep. I guess the company's considered education.
It's education about tech. Yeah.
And we had, there's public sector and nonprofit. We had the I forgot his name, the person who's doing the Advent of Code, working for like a co-op or something.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's where they identify. And obviously a lot of people in the US and Europe. That's that's the people who answered the survey. Not surprising to me. I guess if I would think about the prototypical Go engineer, they would be someone in the US or Europe, about between 25 and 44, and working as a software developer. Like, that's not surprising at all to me.
Yeah. So 23% of respondents are in the United States, and second on the list is elsewhere at 20%. So that tells you that it's a long tail.
Yeah. By the way, I am pretty sure, and I'm going to check it right now, like live. Well, this is not live, but live is the time of the in media res, I guess I should say, how our listener geography chart matches to the... So it matches. It matches like 1-to-1. United States is first, Germany is second, UK is third. Oh, but our listeners, we have Canada at fourth, and Canada is only fifth in the chart. So there's some divergence between
France
the people who answered the survey.
Quite a bit higher on the survey than they are in our listenership.
I don't want to...
France, you need to represent and start listening to our podcast.
S'il vous plaît. But I'll tell you what, and I think, can I engage in stereotype against the French people?
No, we want them to listen. We don't want them to stereotype them.
Generally, in the podcast, you only listen, but in the survey, you can complain. So, of course, they... I'm just kidding. Okay. So these are the people who answered. Generally, they feel very positively about Go. So this is in line with previous years, where more than 90% of respondents say they feel satisfied while working with Go. What is your take on this? Is this like selection bias? The people who answered the survey are the people who are satisfied?
Well, I think that's a big part of it, because I've certainly met people who don't, or I've brushed next to people on social media who don't like Go. They hate static types, or they definitely want their Java style inheritance or whatever. But there aren't very many of them. So I think I do think that, like, if you could do a truly random sample of developers and ask them what they think of Go, at least the ones who've tried it, I do think the majority would say that they have a positive opinion of it. I don't think it would be 91%.
I also think that people who work with, like, the question is, how satisfied have you been using Go during the past year? If you were to use Go for something that it's not a good fit for, like when we evaluated Go for our current startup, we decided to go not with Go, even though I obviously really like it personally, because we figured, we're trying to iterate kind of fast and we're trying to model some high level concepts, and maybe Go's like rigidity and whatever doesn't exactly fit, and also not exactly like the hireability of the people we want to hire are not necessarily Go developers. We're looking for more like AI-ish people, might be more used to high-level languages. So, I use Go for other things in other avenues. So I answered that I'm satisfied with it. But I can imagine if I were to pick Go for this and it would for like the back end of the current startup, I would answer I'm like neutral, even dissatisfied, because it's not a good fit for what we're doing, even though I think Go as a language is correct. So I'm wondering how many people, how many of the 9% that didn't answer satisfied are just trying to use it for something that it's not a good fit for. And therefore they're like, it's not great. I'm trying to use it to like build my front end or whatever.
Yeah, I would like to know. I would be interested to know that as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, the quotes they put here are only strictly from people who answered very satisfied, which is kind of frustrating. You mentioned like which concepts you brushed against that people would really like. They did ask. They basically picked our stumper question from the first year, which is like, what feature would you remove from Go or whatever? So they asked, what is the next favorite language feature that's not in Go? So people said inheritance as like the number one thing, which to me is weird because Go has like quasi inheritance.
I don't think that's exactly what this chart is saying. I was thinking the same thing. I think what they've done here. So the paragraph before this chart is a bit confusing, but it says that they asked people what other languages they like. And then from that, they took features of those languages and ranked them. So if you like Python, then that counts towards inheritance. Not because you like inheritance, but because Python that you like has inheritance. So I don't think we can read too much into this chart. But yes, inheritance was the first thing.
So it doesn't necessarily mean Go doesn't have it. It's just like I like it. Well, out of the four things here, Go.
But it also doesn't necessarily mean that people like those features specifically. They like languages that have those features.
Yes. Well, I mean, when you look at the survey, one of the things that pops out, especially when people mention like what's their favorite programming language or like what's the next language, is that Go is not anybody's first language, basically. People start with a different language and move to Go, which is a pattern we saw in the past. And with the sentiment generally being positive, but people moving to this language from another language, I think a natural derivative of that is people like doing the Venn diagram of, well, I came from Python, and in Python I liked XYZ, and then I moved to Go, and in Go I like all the overlap with Python plus the things that Go is bringing on. But I don't like the part that's in the Venn diagram that's left behind in Python. I might need it. I might miss it as well. So the main thing I think that belongs in that slice of the Venn diagram here is type safe enums, which basically everybody who's working in Go and I've talked to has been, and we've talked about this at length on the show as well. Is like, man, I wish Go had like proper enums, right? Generally, it is interesting to look at what the answer of what's your favorite programming languages, even though I don't like that phrasing. Like I would like people to answer what other languages they're actually working at, because Rust is 11%. And man, I don't know, other than a few people who are building developer tooling and one guy who works on trains, I don't know people who do Rust full-time professionally. I know people who do some Rust a little bit to optimize specific parts of their whatever real backend that's written in Python or TypeScript or Go, but like certainly not 11% of programmers I talk to are Rust programmers. I think this is like a way overrepresentation. I don't know. Maybe you have a different experience.
No, I mean, I have a few friends who use Rust professionally, but I don't know how much they use it like exclusively. I have a feeling they go between Rust and C++ or whatever else is suited for the job, you know? And also like favorite language isn't necessarily like there's many ways to measure a favorite. Like, you know, maybe I really like Erlang. You know, Erlang is just so great. It fits all my personal quirks, but I never use it because there's no projects written in Erlang, you know? So, you know, on the other hand, you know, maybe I think C++ is the worst language in the world, but it works really, really well for this task that I'm working on. So I use it every day and it's effective. You know, there's different ways to measure favorite.
So, you know, people have their favorite languages and whatever. Maybe Rust is a favorite language they don't use that much. One thing that they added to the survey is how much do the people who answered the survey sort of have the sentiment not towards the language, but towards the project. So the people building it, the leadership, the contribution style, questions and responses, etc. And here the responses were overwhelmingly meh. They weren't negative. They were very they weren't overwhelmingly positive like they are about the Go language itself, which is surprising. Like if the product is pretty good, you'd expect the people to say that the kitchen is pretty good as well. But basically what they're saying is my feeling toward the kitchen is meh, but I really like the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with the what did you answer to these?
I don't remember what I answered. I'm pretty sure I did do the survey. I don't remember exactly how I answered it. It's a little bit tricky. Some of these, I think I remember talking about this actually when we talked about the survey. But like one of the questions is, I trust the Go team to do what's best for developers like myself. Like that's kind of a tricky question because like I don't know how much I'm like other developers, or if they, the only way to answer that like I'm 100% agree would be like if they tailored Go specifically to me, and I wouldn't expect them to do that. So I would expect this answer to not be 100%. Because we're trying to aim for some sort of average developer, which doesn't really exist, right?
I mean, my understanding of the question is I trust the Go team to do things that are generally positive. Like, in the latest release, generally the garbage collector is better. So generally my software is going to be faster, which is good for developers like myself. And they're not going to introduce a crypto scam a la Guestdown,
right,
or suddenly turn it into a closed source and you have to pay the enterprise fee for the quantum the whatever cryptography, or do some go-to thing that's going to bifurcate the community. Like they're not going to have one of these moments, even though they definitely could. Like this is Google, and if they wanted to try and monetize enterprise, how like Oracle is doing it, you know what I mean? With enterprise licenses, et cetera, they definitely could do that and harm developers like myself. So that's why I answered that I agree. I don't think the Go team is planning to do anything like that. I don't think that's
true.
What they're going to do. And I do trust their leadership because so far I've been following it super closely in the last 3 years, and they've done as part of doing the show, right? And they've only had good decisions okay, we're not going to talk about error handling anymore. Enough. Like that's a great leadership decision.
But so that's a great example that goes to sort of my take on the question. If they were going to do what's best for developers like myself, they would make a different error handling decision than they would if it was for you or for Bob or for Alice, because it's such a controversial sort of point, right? So they have to settle on some sort of average. What's best for some sort of average developer rather than what's specifically best for whoever the person answering the interview or the survey is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think though, you can imagine how annoying it is to be. And unfortunately, I have experience, not firsthand, but very, very close secondhand of like enterprises that are still stuck in the Python 2 to Python 3 migration. And the pains of, I have to develop it once in Python 2 and then I have to migrate it to Python 3 and then I get another code review in Python 3 and then I have to go back to Python 2, like very frustrating. So I feel like even if you personally, a developer like yourself, feel like, the question mark operator would make your code so much nicer, what's best for you actually is still to have a very stable language. And that's better for you than having this one specific feature that you really, really want. And another example of, my confidence, at least, the Go leadership is, if you remember the telemetry thing. Do you want to refresh our listeners' memory in case they forgot?
Yeah. I hope they forgot because it's been a while.
And since then, they turned it on silently. No, I'm just kidding.
That was one of the first things we talked about on the show for a few weeks. Yeah, they added telemetry to the Go toolchain, and it was going to be opt-out, and then based on feedback from the community, they switched it to opt-in. So it's there for everybody, but you have to opt into it first.
Yeah, and they have like a little pop-up on VS Code when you install it for the first time. That's like, hey, please do that. By the way, if you haven't done it, go run Go telemetry on, or whatever the command is. Go do it now. You're not working on the most secret, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just give them your telemetry. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm sort of interested in the responses to this. Definitely one thing that I agree with is that the process of contributing to Go is clear to me. most people don't feel that way. Only a quarter of people do. I often read the issue discussions and often read like a Garrett change lists. And I don't feel comfortable creating a pull request or whatever right now. I don't think I'll be able to without guidance from like someone like yourself that you already did it. I don't think I'll be able to do that. And maybe it's not important because I don't have anything specific I want to contribute to the language. And maybe actually raising the bar and making it more difficult is good right now, because otherwise people will create like slopware pull requests. They'll just overwhelm the Go team. So maybe it's not something even to be improved. Maybe it's okay.
I think there's two aspects to this. One is there's many ways to contribute, and writing pull requests isn't the only way. There could be improving documentation or organizing a Go meetup, or there's so many ways you can contribute to the language or to the ecosystem or the community. Second, this question doesn't really answer with the more relevant question, which is, I want to contribute, and it is clear to me how to contribute. Like if you have no desire to contribute, as you sort of alluded to, then it doesn't matter if you know how, right? So what's really important, I think, is if the process of contributing is clear to those who want to contribute.
Yeah, but if you make it more accessible, then more people will want.
How am I going to get the bands to come? If you book them, they will come.
So yeah, I agree, and I think that's a separate question. Like, do we want more contributors or not? I don't know the answer. And I'm sure different people have different answers to that question anyway. But I don't know. As a contributor myself, I do feel like the contribution process is fairly opaque and kind of difficult, more so than necessary. Like I fixed a bug. I think it's coming out in 1.26, the bug fix. But it took me about a year to get it reviewed several times. I had to ping people over and over again to get it reviewed. And it was a simple one-line fix. But just the process of getting it reviewed and merged was much more complicated than I think it should have been for something that was a bug fix. It wasn't even like a controversial feature. It was a bug fix.
I just
objective bug
changed
fix.
the error handler to the correct format, which is a question mark. A clear bug fix. No, I'm just kidding. So shifting from the Go team to back to the people who answered, what are the respondents like building? Generally, I think it won't surprise you that people are building CLIs, they're building like backend services, they're building libraries and frameworks, and they're building cloud infra things, data processing things. Surprisingly, 12% are saying they're building desktop and GUI applications, which is
That's cool.
Really surprising to me, but I guess great
Those are
news
all of Andy's friends.
Yeah, fine. One new bracket here that's very interesting to me is that 11% are saying they're building AI models, tools, or agents. This is a big category, right? That starts with actual machine learning frameworks like we had on the show Hugo, right? And ends with all these orchestration frameworks that are coming out recently. I parallelized 10 cloud codes in my rig in my blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And I mean, there's also the question of does your software use AI functionality? And it's more than I'm sure if we asked that 10 years ago, it would have been 2%. A very low amount of people were using AI as part of their stack. Here, it's almost a third of the respondents have AI in their software, and 20% of them are actually working on integrating that feature themselves. So about one person in every software team is adding a chatbot to their website right now. Are you happy about this response? Just generally for the software engineering world, before we even and try to understand what the impact is on the language.
So I think this is a misleading question in the same way that people
you really don't like the questions.
I should say a misleading answer or misleading option. In the same way that answering technology company is misleading because everything is a technology company. Every company is doing AI work these days virtually. And if they aren't now, they will be within 12 months probably. So everybody who does CLI tools and API, RPC services and libraries, all the other categories will also be doing AI ML model work. So I think we need a better display. We need a Venn diagram here rather than bar charts.
Yeah, but that'll make things even more difficult to understand.
Of course.
I think it is interesting to see what LLMs and AI is used for. So the top thing is summarize things. So if you have a backend endpoint that like receives an email and then calls OpenAI to summarize the email and shove it in a DB in the summary column, that counts. And that's like the two top things are classifying things and summarizing things. So summarizing things was basically a non-feature. It wasn't a possibility that I think for most software developers before LLMs, right? Like reading, understanding something conceptually and then outputting a summary of it wasn't really a thing you can make your computer
I think the closest we had was like sentiment analysis, right?
And obviously it's very, very interesting. Like a lot of what people do in general is look at the thing and summarize it, especially now that a lot of content, which is the third rubric here, is generating things. So you use an LLM to generate like a huge ass email and then another one to summarize it on the other end. Net positive just for Anthropic's stock price. But people do use it for the things you would expect. Summarization, classification, generation, suggesting solutions to problems, chatting with end users. I was surprised that that's 30% because every time I use an AI agent answers me, I get super frustrated. Recently, like I was looking for an apartment, or I guess rather I should say a house. And, there were a few human agents that talked to me, like when I say agents, I mean like real estate agents. And there were a few AI agents that talked to me. And I can tell you for a fact that I did not answer the AI agents.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to get me to sign on a so-and-so dollar lease a month. You better have like a guy that is like sweaty and has a Rolex and can walk me through the property.
My wife just did a job interview with an AI chatbot. Visually, and she said it was really weird. And I wouldn't even accept it, but she needs a job, so I understand why she did. But yeah.
So moving on to the things that can be improved, and not just who answered and what do they feel. What do people say that they want to? What do people say the biggest challenges are, or the most frustrating thing when writing Go?
So the top one is following best practices and Go idioms, which is interesting because I see a lot of non-idiomatic code out there. Maybe that's good or bad. Or maybe it doesn't matter. But the point I want to make is that a lot of people aren't even trying. and maybe that's okay.
When you say non-idiomatic, what do you mean? Can you give
so things example? That they clearly violate the stuff that's in this published idioms from the Go team. They use all caps for constants, or they use underscores in variable names or file names. Most of them are fairly cosmetic cosmetic things. They aren't necessarily a big deal. But it's clear that they aren't even trying to implement, or maybe they don't use camel case or whatever. Doesn't matter, but they're not trying to do the things that are well established in the Go community as the quote Go way of doing things.
I think that one interesting side effect of this, I don't know, this is me sort of putting my chips down, but I would be super surprised if the Go team doesn't release in the same way that Supabase released Postgres best practices and Vercel just released the React best practices agent skills. I would be like, the Go team I think will miss a moment in time right now to release, we saw the survey and we compiled all of our best practices idioms that don't fit into Go Fix or Go, that modernizes your code automatically into Go best practices, like an agent skill that you can install on your agents. Maybe I'm living in like a Twitter, San Francisco, SF Bay Area hype bubble, and agent skills are not really a thing outside my bubble. But I think that could be a good opportunity for them to like make an official agent skill thing instead of just people doing the open source dance, and then we'll end up with 5 different skills versions. Other than that, the next thing is obviously a feature I value from another programming language isn't part of Go, namely probably error handling and enums. And the third one is something that I found frustrating as well, which is finding trustworthy Go modules and packages.
That's something I can identify with.
How do you even do that? Like
I don't know.
when you want to bring in a dependency, like what's your checklist?
Well, I usually start with Google or maybe an LLM to ask what the options are. Probably Google for that. LLMs are less good at finding unpopular options, right? They'll tell you what the general community does, not necessarily something that came out 6 months ago that's even better. So I usually use Google to find what packages do the thing I'm looking for. Then I'll look at the GitHub or whatever, it's usually GitHub, to see how many stars they have, how active the repository is. Are there a lot of outstanding bugs? Do they respond? Does the maintainer respond to issues and pull requests and things like that? I want something that's getting the love it needs.
Although if a package is like finished, it's pretty simple and it's finished.
It's rare, but there are some examples of that. Yeah,
it looks like abandoned on GitHub, but honestly, a lot of good packages that I've used look like that. Where it's a pretty
there are
small,
some. They're fairly. They have a very limited scope, like maybe creating diffs or something like that. Something fairly limited scope that doesn't need to be updated. There are a few of those that I use, but usually there aren't a lot of competitors for those sorts of things. Yeah. Because it's been solved well and it's not a complicated problem with lots of nuance. That there's 13 different opinions on how to do that thing. It's less of a problem, I guess. Anyway, usually.
And by the way, I don't think this is a solved problem in any ecosystem. It's not easy to find trustworthy Go modules and packages. It is maybe slightly easier to do package like supply chain security in Go rather than in dumpster fires like NPM or whatever. It's not easy. And I think it's not an easy solution. It's a very social problem. Like defining if a package is maintained and trustworthy, it's like a judgment call more than any technical score you can put on it. But definitely official SDKs, that could be one thing. Like, you want to talk to a company can register their official SDK. Because a good example is OpenAI. They have like 15 different Go packages until they release their Go SDK, but now they have their official Go SDK. It might not be the best, but I know for sure that I would like to use the official OpenAI SDK when talking to OpenAI, to build my LLM summary that I just talked about from the previous section, rather than some dude's package who might be cool, but he might be traveling next month and not answering. You know what I mean? So I don't know how to approach that problem, but it is a problem. By the way, unlike ensuring Go code follows practices and Go idioms, I think that's pretty easy. Just improve Go fix and Go vet, and teach more people about Golang CI lint, and that's going to make it easier. And a feature I value from another programming language isn't part of Go. If it's error handling, Go fish, and if it's enums, maybe we can make it happen at some point. These ones, they feel like solved to me. Like I know what the direction is going to be. For Go modules and packages, I don't know. There's a lot of other things here that people find frustrating, like Go PLS is not responsive enough, or optimizing for resource consumption or testability, or module dependencies, latency, etc. But I think that's like enough of the challenges. One final thing that we have to mention, of course, is that Jonathan uses Linux.
I swear, man, you mentioned that far more often than I do. I think you're jealous. I think you want to use Linux.
I have my Corpo Slop Mac OS with the glass effect, and I'm happy with it. However, 60%, I, by the way, don't understand this, because 60% said Mac OS and 58% said Linux, 20% said Windows, and 14% said Windows subsystem for Linux are the platforms that they use when writing Go code, which means a lot of people use both Mac OS and Linux. So I guess people are like, when they develop on a dev container that's like Linux based, they consider it a Linux, even if they're running it on Docker on their Mac machine from work.
And if they answer the Windows subsystem for Linux, do they also answer Windows and Linux?
Oh, yeah. They count 3 times. Yeah. And obviously containers are like where people deploy their code almost exclusively. In deployment, 96% of people deploy to Linux. So that's definitely still where all the software is actually being run. Of course, we have to mention the editor wars as well. Jonathan, what code editor do you use?
Begrudgingly, I use VS Code.
Begrudgingly.
I've never been a big fan, but it gets the job done.
So the question is, again, phrased not like what are you using, but rather what's your favorite code editor for Go? So what's your favorite code editor for Go?
I guess it's VS Code.
Damn.
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust. But by the way, this answer, they did something smart, and this answer doesn't count the people who were referred to answer the survey from the VS Code prompt.
Okay. Yeah. That's clear.
But VS Code is obviously number one. Golang is number 2, Vim and NeoVim number 3. So these are like the main options right now for Go developers. The rest are pretty interesting because you have, I'll skip over Z once again. I'll get back to Z, but you have Cursor and Windsurf as options, both of which are VS forks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I use Cursor, but I think I answered like VS Code just because it's a VS Code fork. It just has some like, it goes to a different backend and has some nice features, but I don't know. You know what I mean? It's VS Code. It's not something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I use Cursor. Other options here include Zed. Have you tried it out? I did. I really want to move to it like full time at some point. It's super fast. It's written in Rust. It's really like nice and nice. I might turn it into my Claude code driver and like one work tree while I'm working on my main thing in Cursor. 3% answered Emacs. The rest of the Emacs users were still busy configuring their Emacs, which is all they do. And there's still 1% of people who code Go in Sublime text, which to me is like insane. But sure, you do you. There's a breakdown of cloud environments. It pretty much matches what you see in the marketing reports. AWS number 1, GCP number 2, Azure number 3. I think, by the way, this is like the other way around in real world. It's just that maybe Go has like a Google Cloud and Azure are switched in the real world. I think Azure has more market share generally, but maybe not among Go developers. Maybe Go developers like Google more because it's all like holistic or whatever. I don't know. And, in terms of who gives the best experience for Go developers, again, GCP is pretty high, which is surprising to me because I don't know. I've heard from people working in GCP that they didn't really like it, but I guess this is a good answer if you're Google. You don't want to put Google Cloud as like the last option, and I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's been any proprietary, but maybe some massaging of the data. And the final section, unsurprisingly, is about AI. Not AI in your software, but AI in your software development process. Honestly, I feel it's crazy because it's only January 23rd. I feel things are already different in 2026. AI developing. You're rolling your eyes. You don't seem to agree.
So my biggest thought when I was reading through this stuff about AI is I don't even remember how long ago they asked these questions, but I'm sure my answers have changed significantly since then. And I bet that they have for almost everybody who answered. So these answers are probably, this is like a snapshot from 3 months ago that is probably almost irrelevant now. Because my AI habits have changed drastically in the last 3 months, and they're changing all the time. Like even just this last week, I learned some new things about how to use Claude and making Claude better. And I've been reading articles and looking for new ways to improve my workflow. It's kind of like we've all been given Google for the first time after never having a search engine before. We're asked to do a survey about it, and then 3 months later, we're asked to look at the results. And like that's not how I use Google because we're learning all these new things again.
I will say last year they asked about AI assistants kind of differently, so it's very hard to see the trend. And they also point that out. Generally, just to give you, I don't know, if you're a listener and you use AI in a certain way, there's like a spectrum, right? There's a spectrum. On one side is, I don't use AI at all. I don't want like Copilot. I don't want anything. I just use code I just code like it's 2022. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have like people like, I have 10 concurrent instances of Cloud Code with work trees and an orchestrator, and I never look at the code anymore, and I don't even do code review. I just like do spec-based development. And maybe there's even more extreme than that, like on the other side of the spectrum that I haven't like reached yet. And I think most people do use agents sometimes.
I think that's a difficult question to answer. Like 3 months ago, I would have said, no, I don't use agents because I just used ChatGPT and I used Copilot. Now I tend to use Claude a lot more, and it does agents whether I ask it to or not. Or maybe you consider Claude itself to be an agent. I don't think that distinction is clear to most people anymore. I
think agent is as a person who's working on agentic cybersecurity and an agentic cybersecurity, like AI cybersecurity startup right now, the word agent is meaningless.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I do think that there is a big difference between I sent a question to ChatGPT via the web interface and then I copied the answer back into my code,
right,
which is like I use LLM as a Google replacement,
right,
versus I give a task, like a coding task to something on my machine and it runs in a loop and it can run shell commands on its own, or, it might ask me for permission, but it comes up with a shell command to run instead of telling me, please run npm test, or go test and give me the response, right? Maybe post the exception here. It's like, no, I'll just run the thing myself and find the exception. I think that's the distinction that most people will agree on. And overall, people are not just happy enough with their AI responses. Mostly people are like not satisfied with the code quality. It never follows practices. It hallucinates. All the various complaints we already know. Again, I think just like a few months after this survey, the landscape has drastically changed because new models have come out and agent skills and MCPs and whatever. But still, I don't trust like agents as far as I can throw them. I'm still reviewing every single line.
Yeah, for sure. So my thought on that particular question, like how overall how satisfied or dissatisfied, I'm like, I am both extremely satisfied and extremely dissatisfied. You can't really answer this on a scale. Like, and so that would make it, you would think that would average out to like neutral, but I'm definitely not neutral. I have very strong opinions about how both satisfied and dissatisfied I am with my agents. So this chart just it doesn't convey anything meaningful to me.
One thing that is interesting is how people are using AI tools. Like, we're only assuming it's for writing code, but it's actually searching for answers, writing code, learning new concepts, suggesting fixes or problems, finding problems, reviewing code, writing documentation. This is one example where people say they have AI write the documentation. And I'm like, what the hell? It always creates super lengthy, super wordy, incorrect, duplicated documentation that nobody's going to read. Like, nobody in their right mind are going to look at that and be like, this is useful information I need right now. I don't know. I hate it. And I don't understand how like 46% of people are like, oh, I use AI for writing documentation today. I guess I'm not sure it's even better than if they didn't write any documentation at all, but maybe it's slightly better. And I don't know, for example, generating test data and synthetic data is something I do all the time with AI, and I'm really satisfied with. It seems like only 45% of people, use this today. And on the other side of the spectrum, deploying to production and monitoring production environments, basically no one is doing with AI. Everybody's like saying not only they don't hope to use it or they might try AI, they're like, I don't want AI involved in this. Like, let me deploy to prod. Don't touch it. Which I find I very much agree with. Like, I wouldn't want AI to, monitor my production environment because it's just going to do whatever it can to make sure that it's okay, like rollbacking and deleting my production database. And now all the pages are faster again.
Yeah.
So that's the survey from, September 2025. You can go read it yourself. We pretty much covered, I feel, everything. What is your general sentiment, like looking at this survey and thinking about Go's like future, I guess I should say?
I'm optimistic that enums and some of these things that I've been complaining about for a while are coming up, and it seems that the Go team is noticing. And we had a chat mentioned on the channel that the compiler team meeting has this on there. Apparently, their unofficial roadmap for 2026. So yeah, I'm optimistic that maybe we'll get enums and some of these other things that maybe union types or something that many of us have been clamoring for a while. Now that we finally put error handling to bed, officially for a while, we can focus on some of these other things. And yeah, that would make me happy. Go 1.26 has a lot of great new things in it. We talked about it the last couple weeks ago, so I'm already excited about that. But if we could get enums and union types and a few other niceties, it's going to be a really great language to work in. Not just the best language that I complain about. It could be the best language in many other ways.
Nice. Optimism is good.
Yeah. What do you think?
Same. I'm very optimistic that there will be people who are very passionate about like making Go better for agentic development, because that seems to be the thing. And also Google has a horse in this race, right? Like, they want to sell their own models like Gemini, their own like AI stack, right? Gemini and Gemini models and whatever. And, people have been saying that Gemini 3 is really, really good. I haven't tried it yet. So I feel like they ought to look at the responses from the survey and be like, okay, I know exactly, like for these 4,000 people that are professional developers, I could like try and get them hooked on AI development with Go, which both strengthens my position as an AI player, which is the only thing which matters for like companies right now, basically, but also generally should make the language better. Generally, when you try to make things better for agents, you turn out to make them better for everybody because like, oh, tests are faster or documentation is better or best practices are more automated or et cetera, et cetera. It turns out even for just human developers, things turn out better as well. But I honestly think that this survey mostly shows the team keep doing what you've been doing. Like people are very satisfied with the way things are going. There's no major change needed to keep everybody pretty happy. Just keep making the language better and faster, slowly and surely. People will be happy with it.
Right. Agreed.
I know I am. So. All right.
Cool.
So we covered the survey. We have a ton of stuff in the backlog, but that's enough for today. Next week's episode is going to be a live episode at the Go San Francisco meetup. Very exciting. Please send us your voice notes for that.
And if you don't, we're going to chase you down and we're going to rip them out of you.
We are going to DM some people just to get make sure that nobody missed the message. And yeah, let's do a quick ad break and then jump to our interview with Dominic St-Pierre.
All right. Thanks for listening to the show for almost 3 years. We really appreciate the community support we've gotten. Of course, we would be remiss if we didn't remind you or mention for the first time for new listeners how you can best support the show. This is a volunteer effort, but it's expensive. It's an expensive hobby, mainly for editing, but also hosting fees, running our swag store, various things like that. So if you want to support the show, you can do it in a number of ways. The easiest and freest is just to share this show with your friends and colleagues and other fellow gophers. You can also support the show financially, either by buying some swag, buy a Cup of Go mug or a t-shirt or stickers, or you could also become a Patreon and support us on a monthly basis. That money just goes to help pay hosting fees. We are not making money off of this at all. We both pay significant amounts of money every year to do this. That's not to make you feel guilty, just to let you know we're not trying to get rich off of Patreons like some really sophisticated YouTube beasts might be. Not to name any names.
Yes.
This next week, I think we actually mentioned last week that we were going to do a birthday episode this week. I can't remember. I think this is our 3-year anniversary episode, but we're postponing the actual celebration for one more week till we can do it live at the San Francisco meetup that I mentioned. Yeah. So you do have time still to send in a voice note. Just share your comments and your thoughts about the show. It could be just a quick happy birthday, Brewster. Brewster's our mascot. It could be sharing your thoughts, something you've learned from the show, something you like about the show, something you don't like about the show, whatever. It doesn't need to be long. Send a voice note. You can find our email address, or you can do all the other things I mentioned over at cupago.dev, or you can send us a voice note on Slack. Send it to me or Shai, or share it in even the Cupago channel if you want to. Have I missed anything, Shai?
Just one small thing is that other than supporting us through Patreon, we don't pay for any advertisements or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So you can also share the thing about the show. Last week's episode was pretty good, or was it 2 episodes ago?
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
That was a big episode and that was a lot of fun. So, share the show with co-students, co-friends, with your agent. Just talk to Claude Code about it. I don't know if, straight up, if an agent listens to an episode, downloads the MP3, listens to it, and sends a summary to someone, would you want it to count as a listen and a download or no?
I don't know. I think the first problem is why they listen to the MP3 when the transcript's already there. But
true. All the nuances. Maybe it's like someone takes all the episode and then cuts out all the jokes and the ad break.
That's how we can get it down to 15 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so just remember to share the show with people, rate it, whatever. Just spread the word.
Yeah.
On to our interview.
Woohoo. And Hugh.
Hello there, I'm Dominic St-Pierre, and you're listening to Go Podcast. So I am a software engineer.
Sorry, am I in the wrong place?
Oh, it might be me.
I thought I must have gone left when I was supposed to go right. I'm looking for Cup of Go.
Crossover episode. Woohoo!
Hey, Dominique.
Hello there.
Thanks for coming. Joining us on the show.
Usually we need the interviewees to say their name, but you already said you're Dominic St-Pierre.
Yeah.
So please, introduce yourselves to our listeners.
Sure. So basically, I'm a normal software engineer, I would say, doing that since 2000, and I really appreciate Go for a long time. And I have this podcast that I started, which turned 4 years, by the way, this January.
Congratulations! Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not the most consistent publisher, though. That's the problem.
Is it a problem though? Do people complain?
No, it's not a problem per se, but I mean, you know how it is. You always hear things like you should be consistent if you want to grow your audience and whatnot.
Oof.
Kind of, I've reached that plateau a long time ago myself.
Yeah,
for sure.
Shai and I are consistent-ish, but we take breaks, and it's a volunteer effort. I don't think you can blame a volunteer for not being consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're two as well. So that when you are alone, I am alone. So chasing after interviews is not the easiest thing for me.
Right,
so for me that's the hardest part. Sure. Making sure that either I have good topics, or B, I have a good person to interview, and all the work that is that we need to do that. This is where it's at.
It's a fair point. We'll talk more about that being alone here in a little bit, but first, go ahead, Shai.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming to interview, because it's so hard to find interviewees. So you made it easy for us. But I want to start with what is Go Podcast? In case people do listen to Cup of Go and they're like, oh, I don't need another Go news program. I want to start by saying you're different. Your show is very different. I feel like every episode is more of a deep dive conversation into a specific general topic, not necessarily like this was released last week. And we mentioned some of your episodes on the show, but I for one really like it. So I don't know if you're looking to expand your Go podcasting selection, and now that Go Time has been off the air for like a year or something, I highly recommend the Go podcast. My first question to you is, how do you pick the episode topics? Because looking at them, it could be one time it's like LLM and agents, one time it's CI/CD, one time it's alternative to Docker, one time it's testing, one time is linters, one time is just an interesting conversation with interesting Go people like John Arundel. It's very there's a very big sort of expanse of topics. One of them, by the way, being Data Star, which we mentioned on this week's episode as well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, to be completely frank, I'm very bad at keeping with what's going on, like you are doing, basically. I'm not mistaken at the beginning of your episode. So yeah, that's not for me. So for me, it's what do I want to talk this week, and what I did that I think will be worth the time for people, and that mostly it. So that's why sometimes there's just no episode, because either I haven't done anything very extraordinary that week, or B, I could not found anyone. I started the podcast. It's interesting, I think, because frankly I was not really listening to podcasts myself. Being a blind person, this is kind of crazy, because audio is supposed to be my thing, but I was not, and I was invited twice at Go Time. I started listening to them a lot, a couple of episodes, but it was too long for me. It was way way too long. And I knew Justin Jackson, which you might know is the owner of Transistor. You guys are using Transistor as well. So I've been knowing him for a long time, and he was always saying, you should start a podcast. And he was always doing that to me. So I said, oh, okay, I will try that. And at first it was like 15 minutes, very, very quick. I was trying to be, take a small, let's take error in Go, for example, or let's take, heap versus memory allocation at first, pointers and whatnot. So I was trying to take some small, or at least important topic like that I was feeling people that are starting in Go might know. And I was trying to do a kind of a blog post, if you will, but an audio blog post And that is how I started. But yeah, these days I'm just talking about, what's going on in my life at the moment. Basically, that's it. If I feel like it's interesting to go first.
And drawing from like whatever you were working on that week, or the person you're talking to that week, I guess it does lead to a very personal perspective on Go development. There's a pair of episodes I want to point out, and you mentioned, so I want to talk about where 56 and 57, which were released in April last year, where you talk about like being blind in tech. So how is that? How is being blind in tech?
Oh, well, how many hours do we have in your show to talk about that? Yeah, that's very hard. So I'm legally blind since birth, but I just recently in my life, maybe about I don't even know, maybe 3 or 4 years now, maybe 3. I don't recall. I needed to start using a screen reader full time. That was very painful for me. So I always have that. So that's why you're not seeing me at conferences and whatnot. It's pretty difficult. That is something that I would really like to do myself, but I just cannot really move easily. I will need to bring my wife and things like that. I cannot really take a plane alone and things like that. So long story short, it's pretty hard. So I met another developer and software engineer that is also blind. So I think we kind of did 2 episodes. Maybe that was painful or not. I don't know. We tried. When I talk about that, often the reaction is, people are just curious. Other software engineer, especially, and things like that. But don't get me wrong. It's pretty hard. It's just abysmal, to be frank. And if I can say that, because now I have a new audience potentially, if you ever have a blind person coming to an interview, please let them stay in their environment. I did a couple of interviews in the last 3 years. I won't name any companies, but I cannot be outside of my environment. Let me stay in my environment. I will. I swear I will. I don't know. I will be able to show what I can do. But a blind person cannot leave their environment. This is a fact.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that the listeners, and I'm also myself can take from this. So the point about interviewing is interesting. If we have any hiring managers listening, which is possibly like very possible right now, because I'm sure your company has a great return to office procedure, and they really want to use their real estate, but remember, it's not for everybody, and there's a lot of benefit in hiring people remotely if they perform better remotely, like you're saying, Dominic.
Well, I'm mainly talking about, the initial interviews cycle, the tech interviews and things like that, using tools. Let's say you're trying to screen some engineers because you don't want to look at all the resumes that you're receiving. And now you are using a tool, which I won't name again, but those tools are usually not accessible. I cannot I cannot write code in a browser. That is not possible for me. So I did something like that. And, to reach out for the output, because let's say you're writing some, whatever the code that you're writing, but you write your code, you click the button, you immediately see the output. I need to navigate to the output, return back to this texture or whatever. This is not possible. So yeah, that's what I was talking about.
I guess the other side of that is if we have any front-end-ish developers, or even if you can impact the front-end like roadmap in your company, making sure that software is more accessible and having, someone test the software with like a screen reader tool would be very valuable. And honestly, pretty low stakes. Like, it's not that hard. Just get it prioritized. at some point, right?
Yeah, the amount of it's pretty simple. Just use header everywhere. If you are repeating some element, just use H4, H5, whatever. If you are tempted to use a strong element in the HTML, just use an H something, and that will immediately just fix like 95 of the accessibility issues. Yeah,
Good to know. I use Vimium, which is a thing that lets me click on elements in the browser without a mouse. Just for like, I don't need it or something. It's just for perceived speed, and also makes me feel very elite. And the amount of websites where it's like, oh, you have a fancy like React button, but it's not actually a clickable element. So my Vimium can't fight it. Very frustrating. But for me, it's just like a momentary frustration. And then I just grab the mouse and I click on it. It must be way harder when it's just literally blocking you from doing an interview.
Oh yeah, totally. And you know, take the Stripe dashboard, for example. You know, they and at some point I can understand because they have so many things out there, but this thing is very hard on the accessibility side. So it's not just interview, but again, we are not there to fix all the issues with accessibility. But let's just say that, you know, there's still a lot of work to do. But again, you know, if you are interviewing a blind person, just ask them, you know, how would it be easier for you to conduct this interview? You know, don't impose anything. That would be immediately extremely helpful. I would be fine to share my screen, for example. Well, let me stay in my editor. Let me stay in my console. Let me stay with when I say my environment, I mean my desktop environment. If that makes sense.
Sure. I think we should extend that courtesy to literally everybody. I mean, there's a lot.
Oh yeah, but that's sure.
There are a lot of people that with invisible disabilities or you know, maybe not even disabilities, but just personality traits or neurodiverse people or whatever who aren't comfortable in certain environments, and trying to shoehorn everybody into the same interview process, I think, could be very harmful.
Generally, when you work on accessibility of a thing, it becomes better for everybody.
Exactly.
I see it now when I compare like normal playgrounds from when I was a kid to the playgrounds that my kid plays on now, which are usually wheelchair accessible. It's just better because they need more land and the rides are cooler and more kids can play there and less stairs. Like, it's just better for everybody.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure that people will fix the accessibility of their software, will turn out with the better looking UI anyway.
Well, it's possible, but at least it will. Yeah, of course. You know, you cannot have a click event on a div. You know, but we are seeing that less and less, but it still exists. I mean, the amount of things that I just cannot click is still you know, substantial.
So you've been doing the podcast for a while, and I saw recently that you are looking for a co-host. I'm curious to understand why, and you know, what's led to that, and what are you looking for in a co-host?
I'm trying to bring some kind of diversity to the topic. Like I was saying, it's mainly me at the moment when I have something, I worked on something or something happened or I saw something that so I think I was kind of enjoying myself the Go Time way of having multiple, you know, co-hosts that can you know, jump in at some point and bring an episode and whatnot. So I'm trying to refresh the formula because for me, first of all, because I still want to continue publishing Go Podcast, but I don't know. I need some excitement. I need some new things. So I think it would kind of bring some motivation. So what I'm looking for, I post that on Reddit, which strangely enough, I started to add some traction, and for some reason the post disappeared. So what can you do? Very weird. So I'm not super sure about what I'm looking for. I thought my thought process was something like, I was wondering, you know, first I would start, you know, just having a quick talk with the person, and we could do 1 or maybe 2 episodes, just, you know, pilot episode maybe. And but I was kind of looking at different angle than me. What I'm saying about that, I'm mostly building SaaS software as a service with Go, mostly independent and whatnot. So I mean, would that hurt? I think to have someone that is working the 9 to 5 in a bigger org. That could be interesting. But yeah, I was mainly looking at multiple profiles, if that makes sense, to because it's very hard to ask someone, you know what, let's jump in on that thing each week. It gets it's not everyone that wants to commit to that kind of work schedule for a hobby thing.
And have you found any likely candidates? You said you were getting some traction on Reddit. Did it come to the point where you have some candidates now, or you're still early in that process? Yeah.
There's someone that we will record an episode next week. Actually, there's a discussion with someone else. Don't want to name names because, like I said, it's just pilot for now. But yeah, I think it's nice. I think the audience that I have, there's a couple of people in there that says, especially with the new year, people are saying, yeah, you know what, I could see myself trying to do, to talk in a podcast. So that's why I'm not asking people to commit themselves to a weekly thing. It could be just an ongoing, if they want to do one episode per month or per, I don't know, 6 week, whatever. So that would be fine with me. So that is mostly, so basically it's like having multiple interviewee that would come back, but they would be co-hosts basically. I don't know if that makes sense. It looks like it could be easier, because for example, John Arundel, came 3 or 4 times. There's a couple of people that I interviewed so far that returned, and I find that very it's more easier. Yeah,
makes sense.
Other than the podcast, recently you mentioned you revived sort of a Supabase competitor thing called Static Backend. How's that going?
Yeah. It's an old project I started, and strangely enough, I talked twice with the CEO of Supabase actually about that. So when I launched that, when I open sourced it, it was basically it seems like it was at the same time that they did. I did not knew them. I just knew them when they got their first 30 mil in funding, like 1 year after. So yeah, basically it's like a backend as a service that I built in Go. It's a project that I really love. Kind of got I don't know, energy wise, it was not really there at the end, so I decided to archive it. I was not able to get traction. I tried to get some kind of VCs at some point, but I don't know. It's just a passion project. So yes, I decided to revive it. I think that with the current state of things, with more and more people using LLMs and building prototype that are hosted on, on Claude, whatever, or OpenAI, I don't really know those things, but they seems to need some kind of instant database or backend as a service, because those things are not really hosted anywhere, but they still want some persistence. So I said, you know what, there might be a good timing at this point in time. This is something that I will try to I will try to test. I don't know. So it's it's basically a paid hosted services with a fully open source MIT project.
And like, if I want to check it out or find it, I assume it's on GitHub. That my use case is I'm looking for a Supabase or Pocket-based like alternative. I'm looking for users and auth. Like, what does it provide?
Yeah, exactly. So there's user authentication, of course. So there's the database aspect, so the real time as well. So basically, it's like an event driven system a little bit if you think about that. So you can react to a database record changing or something like that. And there's something really nice, I think, that I built, which kind of is similar to what function as a service are. but I'm using Goja basically, and I built a runtime around that. So when you are writing some kind of, let's say, quote unquote, server side function in that thing, you have access to a lot of API that are there that basically, call the backend functions in the same process. So let's say you want to send some emails, you will not do that from the client side, or you want to to send some kind of or trigger anything. You can just create some function, but they are not real function as a service. Like they don't need a programming runtime, so they are all hosted in memory, if you will, and that is nice. So yes, the website is staticbackend.dev, and this is on GitHub as well for sure. So if anyone wants to check it out, so started to get some small traction at the end when I archived it. Let's say in the last 2 years, there's some contributors that join at some point. Yeah, it's pretty friendly over there, and I think the product is kind of made mature and whatnot. So yeah, it's I thought it was a nice Go project at some point, but yeah, it was maybe the Gophers are not the target audience at all. So I will probably focus more on the front side people, which is makes sense at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot more people are becoming quote unquote full stack developers, or at least the expectation is you can run across more of the stack, and having something like static backend or the competitors is nice. I like that it's like a one file single binary. It's very hostable. I guess it's very Go-ish of you, but that's a very big benefit of getting like a fully hosted backend on one end, but not like a huge cloud subscription that's super vendor lock-in on the other.
Yeah, and I think one other thing that I did that you don't see that often in any kind of project, I would say, cross languages, is that you choose the data store at the end of the day that you want to use. You want to use Postgres, you use Postgres. You want to use MongoDB, you use MongoDB. You want to use SQLite, you use SQLite. So you don't see that often, to be frank, especially in Go project, to have, database/SQL, of course, but the fact that Mongo is also there, this is the game changer. Well, not the game changer. This is not something that you are seeing often, because it's a totally different program model to store data in Mongo than database/SQL in Go. So yeah, the interface for the data store is like 35 function long, so it's pretty dirty, but yeah, it's nice.
Cool. Well, Dominic, it's been fun learning about getting some insight into your project and your podcast. As we mentioned before we started recording, though, we'd like to ask a stumper question. And I don't know. We mentioned it to you, and you were like, So I don't know if you had a chance to think of an answer yet. But this year, we're asking our guests, what is maybe a favorite? It doesn't have to be the single most favorite if you can't, narrow it down. But what is a favorite third-party Go library of yours, and why?
Yeah, I will need to go with SQL C for me. Yeah. Being a database person myself, and I like to work with data. I was writing my database code at first manually. It took a long time for me to switch to not maybe or adopt SQL C. And since that time, which is kind of recent, but yeah, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years, this is mainly my go-to way to build any kind of database aware program these days. So yeah, I cannot see any kind of library that I'm using more than that.
Nice, good answer.
I love SQL C. I love SQL C. It's such a good. The way I picked I unfortunately use TypeScript in the backend right now. And the way I picked the way I justified not using an ORM was, hey, I use SQL C in Go projects and it worked really, really well. Let's just try to find the closest thing we can in TypeScript instead. And oh my God, it's such a good approach to just write SQL and for when you're working with databases, and not try to write your whatever programming language for talking to the database.
I tried SQL C in one of my... Oh, go ahead. You go first.
Oh no! I was just going to say I've seen that in the Clojure world with UG and now Gleam as Squirrel, which is basically the same kind of idea. By the way, I'm a huge fanboy of Gleam these days. I don't know, but yeah, this idea of SQL C is kind of it's at some places other than Go for sure.
Yeah.
So I tried SQL C on a personal project a couple of years ago, I suppose, and I like it better than an ORM, but I kept bumping into it so many times. I ripped it out, and I'm so much happier without it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a hot take for another episode, I suppose.
I guess. Well, thanks a lot, Dominique, for coming on the show. If people want to find the podcast, they can find it at gopodcast.dev. That is gopodcast.dev.
And if they want to join the podcast as a co-host, I suppose they should reach out to you probably at the same place, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's also the Slack channel if people wants to talk to me or send me an email. My email is very easy to find on internet, but it's basically Dominic St-Pierre at gmail.com. Sorry, slipped some French word in here.
And the Slack channel is on the Go for Slack, same as the Cup of Go Slack channel, but it's Go Podcast. No kebab case, just all one word, Go Podcast. You can go hang out over there and
much easier. Why didn't we do that?
Oh, we should have done that. Too late now. We're stuck forever.
Too late now. Well, we'll wait for Go 2. When Go 2 comes out, we'll change it.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Dominique, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Program exited. Goodbye.